great set of Messier objects. Oh, here's the results. Oh,
sorry.
Okay. That's no problem. So we're doing the more northerly summer Messier objects that are visible around now. And the first one I've got up on the screen here is Messier 24. Now what you're going to see here, if you look to the southern sky in the evening, is you can pick up, I'll just bring up the timing here. Pause my time. This is around 10 p.m. So the sky's starting to get darker, pretty dark by about 10 p.m. You've got your teapot-shaped stars of Sagittarius over the southern horizon, tilting a little bit to the west. And then you've got your Scorpion constellation here on the right of the Milky Way. And the Milky Way rises up like steam from the teapot coming up. And a number of these objects that we're going to talk about are visible to the unaided eye, definitely binoculars, and definitely any size of a telescope. So the first one on the list here is Messier 24. Messier 24 is known as the small Sagittarius star cloud. This one's large and bright, definitely visible with unaided eyes and binoculars. It's about a palm's width to the upper right of the peak of the teapot, right? Or you can aim your telescope or aim your binoculars midway between the stars Polus. There's Polus here. I think it's this one. No, there's Polus and the bottom corner of Scutum, this shield-shaped constellation. This clump of stars is about 10,000 light years away. It's in the next inner spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy. Definitely low magnification. You know, not all of it's going to fit in your telescope, but when you are viewing it, try to trace out the shape. Look for dark patches within it. So there's some dust that's obscuring some of the stars and make a little bit of structure inside of it. Mini asterisms of the different stars grouping together. Clumps of brightness, sort of little mini star clusters that are inside it as well. There is a glowing H2 region to the lower left here, the southeast of it. And there's actually a couple of little reflection nebulas in here as well that you can take a look at in the southeastern edge. So all of those are kind of upping the ante of different things you can view. This is kind of the anchor point for the other Messiers. So from here, you can actually, once you've found this one, you can just pop a little bit above it and look for Messier 18. Messier 18 is the Black Swan cluster. It's about 7 arc minutes in diameter. Let's just bring up the telescope view here, and I'll just change the eyepiece to the 25 millimeter Plössl. So you can see it's not a very large object at 35x, but if you can crank your power up, you can see it a little bit better. It's in a less busy area of the sky, but it's easily located just above the small star cluster, small star cloud. And you can also use those two stars, the Polus and Gamma Scuti line, to pick it up that way. You want to look for the star patterns. There are some stars that are a little bit different, a little bit dissimilar to the rest of the star cluster. And there are some prominent blue ones in here that you can take a look for. This is about 4,900 light years away. Next up, and just keep going a little bit higher, is the Swan or Omega Nebula. And this is actually a really nice one to look for with your unaided eyes on a clear, dark night. As a little bright fuzzy patch in the sky. Binoculars will pick it up. And of course, any size of a telescope. So it's a nice compact hunk of nebulosity in the next spiral arm. It's about 5,500 light years away. It's fairly low in the sky as nebulas go for Canadian observers. So you do want to maybe wait until it culminates. You know, this is transiting around 10 p.m. now. So this is the best time to look at it. And you can see that it's got an internally concentrated patch of brightness that actually gives it the nickname. So if you're looking at it through a telescope that flips it upside down, so a Newtonian, then now you've got the swan shape. So it looks like the swan serenely floating on the pond with the body and the neck. Some people also look at this curved neck and they see the letter omega. So that's where the Omega Nebula comes from, as well as the Swan Nebula. idea. When you're looking at it, you can look for, don't magnify it too much. It's a pretty big object. So see how far you can trace out the faint nebulosity around it. You can look for the stars that are internal to it, some of them are foreground, but some of them are inside the nebula itself. So try to see some of the structural details, the brighter and darker regions. You might even want to sketch it. And if you have filters, you can look for, you can enhance it using an oxygen 3 or a UHC filter to brighten the nebula. And also make note of these bright foreground stars down here to the southeast. So that's the Swan Omega. And then from here, we can keep marching upwards. This is going to be a bigger hop. And now you're kind of looking along the base of the shield, a little bit west of the base of the shield for the Eagle Nebula. The Eagle Nebula is the nebula that has the famous pillars of creation from the Hubble Space Telescope. And this is much bigger. So you can see in the eyepiece view, it practically fills the eyepiece with a 26 millimeter Plössl at 35x. So that's a great one to not magnify too much. Again, you can see this with, I think you could probably pick it up with your unaided eyes on a good night. You can definitely see it with your binoculars. Definitely try for that. It's about 7,000 light years away, again, in that kind of neighborhood of the inner spiral arm. And again, the UHC or the O3 filter will enhance it. You want to see if you can trace out the wings. So this is the eagle's head and the wings extending east and west. And then the bright central region has a star cluster inside. So you can pick up the star cluster. And then you can note any patterns and things like that that you might see in that object. So that's M16. Now heading back down to the sort of base or starting base of M24, we're going to go east and west to pick up M23 and M25. So M25 is basically just kind of a few degrees or a few finger widths to the left of the star cluster. You can actually, you could use the teapot. So you could kind of put yourself above and between the stars above the teapot. Look at it that way. So in this object, I'll just put it in the eyepiece view for us. So you can see it's a nice open cluster. You can see this with unaided eyes under good conditions, definitely binoculars, although it'll be kind of smaller than the other ones, and any size of telescope. It's about 2,000 light years away. So you want to estimate how many stars you're seeing, the bright ones, the less bright ones. Look for patterns, look for stars that are a little bit different from most. There's a bright pulsating yellow star. Let's see, USGR. So this one, the star, U Sagittarii, is going to be standing out in the kind of the northeastern edge of the cluster. So that's something to watch for as well. Now over to M23, again, that's about a palm's width, I think, to the, not quite a palm's width, a few finger widths, over to the west of M24. And again, you can sort of estimate yourself by kind of almost doubling the line from the peak of the teapot lid up to Polis and then jog a little bit west. And this is a medium-sized open cluster in the telescope. You can see it's not very compact, so it's rather loosely organized. You're going to need to see binoculars. You're going to need to use binoculars for this one, or any size of a telescope. Let's see, it's about 2,000 light years away, again, on that inner arm of the galaxy. So you want to make note of that looseness or degree of concentration. Look for star patterns, look for star shapes. Again, look for some stars that are a little bit different and get some counting estimates. You'll also notice that there aren't very many stars around it, and that's because there's some dark dust in this area. So unlike some of the other ones that they're in a busy star field, you might notice this one's a bit of an island when you're looking at it. All right, heading a little bit north from these ones, we're going to head up towards the Summer Triangle. Here's the corner of the Summer Triangle up here. So we're going to stop here at the constellation of Scutum. And what I like to do is to find M11, Messier 11. This is the wild duck cluster. start with Altair, follow the body of Altair down to his tail, and you're going to see some little stars that form almost a hockey stick. 3 little stars that bend. And if you follow the bend, 1 hop, 2 hop, 3 hop, you're going to be at the wild duck cluster. So this is a real gem. It's small, but it's very bright. You can see in a telescope, it's very, very dense. You can magnify that one up a little bit more and get some more nice detail in it. And in this one, you're going to be looking for, you know, the degree of concentration that it has, its shape. You know, some people have thought they see a V shape in it, maybe hence the flying duck, the wild duck concept. Other people have reported it more like the Borg cube, so maybe more of a boxy shape. You know, around 60 power is a nice combo to use on this one. And finally, we've got Messier 26. So this one's a little bit trickier to find. It's down here inside the shield itself. What I recommend is using Alpha Scuti, which is a fairly reasonably visible star. And then from here, dropping down to the southeast, looking for Delta, and then kind of taking that and then 50% of that in the same direction, pick up M26. So M26 is magnitude 8. It's a pretty good in binoculars or any size of a telescope. Again, here's the Dobsonian view, so it's smaller and fainter than the other ones we've looked at. But it's a nice little treat to magnify up. And again, it's kind of hollowed out, so it doesn't have more stars in the middle than the other ones do. So you're going to notice lack of stars in the center. Look for its shape and patterns and star types that might be a little bit different. So those are some of your some of the best of Messier for the summertime months.
Awesome. Just a reminder to everyone that that full list is at the link ras.ca/Messier -minutes, including all the notes, what Chris said to look for in it. And